Hi, today we're going to be making strawberry rhubarb jam with jello. So yesterday I picked a whole bunch of rhubarb from my garden and I was trying to think of some great things that I could make with my rhubarb and preserve it, and I realized I had rhubarb from last summer. So I've decided I am going to utilize most of my rhubarb into rhubarb pie filling, and then I'm also going to make some strawberry rhubarb jam. So basically I have taken 5 cups of fruit. Now I ended up taking a small apple and I decided to put that in here along with my strawberries and my rhubarb. These are frozen, so I'm just going to cook them down with about 1/4 cup of freshly squeezed lemon juice. And I can tell you, it already smells amazing in here. So I put the apple in because I'm not using pectin. I am going to be using the jello, but I just want to make sure that I have, a really good texture to my jello. So, the apple will give some additional pectin, plus it'll give a little bit of a sugary taste to it. So I'm going to start off with 2 cups of sugar. And I'm gonna let my fruit cook down first, and then I'm going to add the sugar and the jello. But let's see how this looks. I also added 1/4 cup of water, just because my fruit is frozen. I wanted to make sure that I could get it. It's only been on a couple of minutes and it's already breaking down. So this is how my fruit is starting to look as it cooks down. And as you can see, some of the juices are getting released. I'm gonna go ahead and use an immersion blender and just kind of blend up a little bit of this fruit. I'm not gonna blend it all the way, but I do want it to be a little bit more than this chunky texture. I've used the immersion blender, so I've made it a little bit thicker. I'm gonna add a little bit more water, about another 1/2 cup. And I'm just gonna let that continue to cook down. Now I do still have some larger chunks of rhubarb and different things in here. I don't wanna get rid of that completely. And some of this will continue to cook down. So let me continue to cook this. And when I have it the consistency that I want, then I'll show you the next step. So while I'm waiting for that to come up to a boil, I cleaned all of my jars, lids, and rings, and I put the lids and rings on a small pot just to heat them up, and my jars are actually in the canner heating up. I need to bring those to a boil, and this will just continue to cook down, and I kind of try to get everything prepared and ready while I'm waiting for my food to be ready. When you're canning, I think one of the most important things is that you're prepared, because it all happens pretty fast. So I'll just show you what I have here. Basically, as you saw, I have my fruit cooking over the stove. I've got my workspace. I've got, a little bit of butter in case it foams up. My sugar and jello, everything is ready. As soon as my fruit is ready. And I did decide I'm gonna go in and just use my immersion blender again, and I'm just gonna make this a really nice consistency so that it's really spreadable and nice for a jam. Okay, I've got this to a really nice consistency that I'm liking. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my sugar. I'm going to add my jello. Now this is going to be a 6-ounce box of strawberry jello. And of course you can use any kind you like if you prefer raspberry or something like that. Now I was kind of excited to make this today because my rhubarb is primarily a green rhubarb. So this is going to add a lot of color to my jam. So I'm gonna go ahead, already you can see it's turning a really beautiful color of red. Now, if you're not a fan of jello, not to worry, you can easily follow the directions to make this, strawberry rhubarb jam with pectin, and you'll just follow the directions on the back of the box, or if you have a recipe and you'd like to do that, you just go right ahead. So I do have quite a bit of foam that's come up on this, so I am going to add a little smack of butter. Sometimes that helps to just, you know, bring the foam down. Now I don't worry if I can it with the foam. Like I said, this will bring it down quite a bit. Some people will, I may take some of that off if it doesn't cook down, but we're just going to keep cooking it. We're going to probably cook it for another 5 or 10 minutes till we just make sure that we have everything the consistency that we like. And then we will can this up. My jars are boiling. I've taken my lids and rings off the stove, and we're just waiting for this to meld together. So I wasn't going to take the foam off of it, but for some reason this is really foamed up even with the butter that I put in. So I'm actually going to skim some of this off. It's really easy to do. Just take the back of a spoon and you'll kind of move the foam over to one part of your pan like so. And then just skim it right off. There's not too much, but it doesn't hurt anything. It just doesn't look real good in your jars. So I'm just going to take it off. It just take a couple minutes. It's an extra step. Some people don't even bother with this, but I think it does probably make it quite a bit nicer to look at in the jars. It's already just such a beautiful color. I've tried to grow the red rhubarb, and I don't know if it's just something that is a rhubarb that grows in colder temperatures, but it tastes the same to have the green rhubarb. It just looks better to have the red when you're canning pies and things like that. So let me just get as much of this off as possible, and then I'm going to go ahead and start canning it up in the jars. Okay, I've taken the jam off of the heat, and I'm just going to jar it up. I'm going to put this within a 1/4 inch of the top of the jar. And this will actually thicken as it gets out of the canner. So I'm just going to fill up the jars I have, and then I'm going to put these in the canner. Hot, hot, hot. As everything should be when you're canning. Like hot lava. Actually, I'm gonna put it down here. And as you can see, there's still some little pieces of fruit in here. It hasn't all turned to a jelly consistency. Now all I'm gonna do is just kind of check for air bubbles. I think as liquidy as this is, I'm not gonna have a problem. Looks like I got 3 pints, and I probably would have got another 1/2 pint, but I didn't have that size jar, so I am just going to can the ones I have, and then I'm gonna put the rest of that jam in another little jar after it cools a little, and just put it in my refrigerator. So all I'm doing now is just cleaning the tops of the rims. This is really important because if you have something that's on the rim and it keeps your jar from sealing, then all of this was for nothing. So I'm just gonna clean it off. And at this point, I'm going to grab a couple of lids. So all I'm gonna do now is just tighten up these caps. And I'm gonna put them in my canner, my water bath canner on the stove, which is already really hot. So we're only gonna turn those till they're finger tight. Let me put them in the canner. I'm gonna bring it up to a boil, and then I'm gonna can it for 10 minutes, and then I'll let them sit for about 5 minutes, and then I'll take them out and show you how they look. Now, it's not very often that I actually get to sample the jam on the video, but as you can see from what I had left, it's not even cooled off and it has a really nice consistency. That'll just continue to thicken up. I'm just gonna give it a little taste. It'll be very hot. Oh my gosh. I can taste the lemon, the rhubarb, the strawberry. Mmm. I could eat that whole thing. So I can actually hear these popping in the canner, which means that they're already sealed. So I'm just gonna put these on the counter, and I'm gonna leave them undisturbed for as long as I need to. Usually they say 24 hours, but you can see it's still boiling a little bit inside of the jars. But this is my strawberry rhubarb jam with the jello. Came out really, really, really beautiful. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me today, making this delicious strawberry rhubarb jam with my secret ingredient, jello. I hope you'll give it a try. It was really, really, really easy, and I tasted it, so I know it's really delicious too. So take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.